Let's talk about the other big issue you had that was released this week, which was Brightest Day #0.
Yep.
So we were talking about this a little bit before the cameras turned on. Talk about the collaborative process between you and Peter Tomasi.
Pete and I are working on every bit of this together. You know, we've been working together for years now, and this is kind of a culmination of. We actually looked at the poster. That poster's down here. It says Colgate on the bottom, which is a little weird, like, but whatever. But it's Brightest Day, and it had our names together, and we actually sat back and were like, wow, this is really the first time we've been really on a project together because we love working together so much. So it's really fun to be able to do that. Something like, it's almost like a little bit like 52, but on a smaller level, bi-weekly, so it won't kill us. And also, you know, working with some fantastic artists like Ivan Reis and Patrick Gleason, Artie and Saif, and it's been great. Scott Clark too.
A lot of the characters are asking the question, why me, out of all these people?
Yeah.
So why did you choose, or how did you choose the characters?
Well, we chose them by, first off, it was like, obviously Aquaman and Martian Manhunter and Hawkman and Hawkgirl. That was key. But then it was who had the best stories to tell and who had a place in the DC universe that wasn't filled. Like Osiris, you know, brand new character, he's pretty recent. And then Hank Hall's, you know, created in the 60s. It didn't really matter what era they're from, Maxwell Lord, but who had the best story to tell. So if there was a story that we really felt compelled to tell, even James, like we talked about Jade for a long time, and James had a really good story for her, really great role for her. So we didn't want to just have like, hey, they're all back, and then boom, 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 they just go off and suddenly, you know, she's sitting in the JLA just hanging out. It was very story driven.
There was a lot of great events in Blackest night. Was there stuff that you found that was like really fun to come up with? Like for me, like Martian Manhunter, like throwing buildings,
Yeah.
like people forget how strong I am. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And then Aquaman calling like zombie sharks.
Yeah.
Was there stuff for you that was like, oh, this is going to be like great, and having it come to fruition? How do you feel about it?
Well, it was great because I had Doug Mankey and Ivan Reis throwing it, so I could have Martian Manhunter throw a building or have Aquaman call zombie sharks and know it was going to look great, you know, and not have to feel compelled to overwrite or not, you know, or hinder myself, and still have the emotion in there. Like when my favorite scene Ivan did is when the Flash kind of tells Mare and Adam to get their stuff together, and right now you're the Justice League, you're Superman and Wonder Woman, and Mare says, so what's that make him? And Adam's like, the Flash. Like that panel is just awesome. So Ivan could do everything in that. You know, it's I think he really showed everybody he's arguably the best talent in the business. So.
Why Deadman at the center of the whole thing?
Because that's the one no one expected.
Yeah, it's
you
true.
know, and it also is the one where you kind of wonder, well, his entire concept of this character is a ghost, and now he's no longer a ghost. And his character is really interesting. If you go back and read the original adventures, he was kind of a prick, you know, before he died, and he didn't really respect people or life. He didn't really care about it. I mean, he lived without a safety net, and literally and figuratively speaking. And so putting him at the center of it and making him the thrust of what Brightest Day is all about made a lot of sense. And plus, he's really fun to write. So.
Talking about Blackest Night a little bit, it seemed like there was one character that didn't show up that a lot of people were expecting, who was Hal's father.
Yep.
What happened with that?
We talked a lot about that, actually. A little kid asked me this in a panel, and there's a lot of discussion about it. And by the time we got to Earth and to everything, Hal was so aware of what the Black Lanterns were. It was a bit like Jon Stewart did this bit where Kat Matui showed up in issue 50, I think it's 52, and he just blasted her, because at that time he finally emotionally understood what the Black Lanterns were. And I didn't want to have a really short scene, because I felt it would have been a short scene between Hal and his father, where Hal would have been so aware that this wasn't his father. He was already gone through this with Abin and all these other Black Lanterns and Martian Manhunter, that he would have just blew him up. And I felt that I'd rather not. He kind of closed the door emotionally on that prior to this, but I felt I'd rather not go to that scene. But I considered it. And one thing I really like about Blackest Night, if you look back, you can see the seeds planted for Deadman and Osiris. And like Osiris had that Power Shazam one shot, and I think people read it and go, well, what? Why is this an Osiris book? But everything we did was for a reason. Like the reason Hawk and Dove were such a focus in Blackest Night Titans is because we knew Hawk was coming back. You know, so if you go back and look, you can kind of see, the 12 placed throughout the entire crossovers and series. We actually went and said like Blackest Night Batman was going to feature Deadman strictly because we knew we wanted to get him back on the board and he was going to be coming back. Blackest Night Titans featured Hawk. Blackest, they all kind of featured somebody that would be important later on.
Were there any characters that you were like, it just doesn't fit to bring them back, but you wanted to?
There's certain characters. I mean, I love Ted Kord. I really do love Ted Kord. I grew up with him as Blue Beetle, but the current Blue Beetle is a fantastic character.
Yeah.
I think he's got a lot of potential for things outside of comics too. Something that his role as CCO, I look at and say this character's. I think he's going to be very big outside of comic books. I think he's refreshing, and so to bring Ted Kord back and just make him like Hank Pym light, it didn't make sense. Like he'd be in a lab coat and he'd be like teaching him what to do. So there were certain things that, as much as I love the character, it didn't make sense in the bigger universe to, like, what role is he going to really fill? And his death, more importantly, his death did mean something and triggered a lot of different things. So yeah, there's a bunch of characters we talked about. Like everyone who didn't come back, there's a conversation about them. Even Bwanabeast. I was like, there's a story for Bwanabeast? Yeah. No?
No one does? Come on.
I got this great Brave and the Bold figure though. Yeah, it's like, but there were a lot of, it wasn't just, we picked these guys randomly. There was a lot of discussion and a couple people rotated in and out. We had a few open spots until story developed.
Cool.
Let's talk about Green Lantern going forward.
Sure.
As far as I understand it, the new Guardians are going to be on Earth. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're on Earth. Most of them are on Earth. Yeah.
So what are we going to see coming up with them? I know you have some plans for Larfleeze, including a Christmas.
Yeah,
special.
I have a Larfleeze Christmas special out this year.
Great, tough.
He really loves. He grows to love Earth, and there's a scene in the new issue out this week, I think, where he has a pretty good confrontation with somebody that he fought a lot in Blackest Night that leads him on a little quest. But there's a specific reason they're all on Earth, and the entities themselves will play a big role moving forward.
If it's refocused on Earth, how are you going to keep that space element you were talking about earlier?
Well, they're going to be focused on Earth, but we'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Lobo coming in issue 54, so we'll bring space to Earth.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, and between Green Lantern and Brightest Day, you have the whole white light, white lantern thing going on. Clearly, this all seems to be leading towards something in a way. Are we going to see another event coming out of this?
You'll see Brightest Day will actually have a definitive ending, but the DC universe continues to evolve, and so what happens throughout Brightest Day and towards the end evolves into something else. It won't be Beware My Power.
Good. Whew, close.
Yeah.